Transformers Rise of the Beast. Movie came out 2 weeks ago, 2 Thursdays ago. So last Thursday we saw The Flash. The week before we saw Transformers Rise of the Beast.
Mm-hmm.
And Al, let's go right into it, man. Let's do again. We're gonna do a spoiler review. We won't do the non-spoiler because it's been 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks by the time you guys hear this podcast. If you didn't see it yet, you're probably not ending up to go see it. Maybe we can convince you to go see it because I think me and Al both had a positive reaction to this movie.
Yeah.
So Al, just I guess quickly, give me your first initial thoughts of this movie, Transformers: Rise of the Beast.
Okay, I left there thinking that they brought it back. I was glad they decided to do a reboot. I'm glad the direction they went in with this movie.
Mhm.
You know, they hit on a lot of good tones and notes for me. You know, the way they portrayed Optimus in the sense that he had an arc of not liking and trusting humans to
Right.
now becoming one of their biggest defenders. I didn't feel like they went too much, like they just left enough of the robots to tell the story that they were telling in this movie. And they didn't feel the need to keep alluding to, oh, here's Starscream, or here's Megatron, or here's this
Right.
person. Like they stayed with the robots that were in this movie and just went with that. They gave the only one I wish that there was more weight to was Air Razor. Like
Yeah.
she's the only one that, you know, if you're like this long time superior transformer, when Scourge shot her and he was like infecting her basically with, you know, what would equate to like a virus or something.
Yeah.
How does she not know? You know, like she makes the mark of, oh, when he leaves his mark or something, she, you know, she kind of brushes it off. But how would you not know of what the potential was? And when you see the effect spreading, how do you not? So that was the only thing that almost took me out. But you know, I've heard a lot of negativity of, oh, there's too much humans on the movie. We want to just see the robots.
Yeah.
I thought there was a good balance, you know, because you have to portray why the Transformers end up wanting to defend Earth, if not for the fact that they feel that bond with the humans. So you have to show the bond develop. And I thought Ramos did a good job, you know, balancing the why he was willing to go forward and help and do a fight that basically wasn't really his fight. He could have stood back. The girl from the museum. Yeah, I love this movie. I thought everything was good. The only thing, you know, is, what's his name? The Mirage.
Yeah.
He almost took me out of the movie once or twice. But he kept bringing me back in. Like as much as I don't like Pete Davidson, if you hadn't told me at the end that was him, I would have stayed enjoying Mirage all throughout. Like that one line, you know, when he was described as just a friend. Kid, to this day, I want to say it because
it's hilarious.
That line, kid. I mean, I'm sure everybody's quoted that line, but it was hysterical when we heard it.
It's a kid's movie, Al.
That's what I was like, what? You know, I might have had to have explained that line. Come on, are you kidding me?
Oh my goodness.
I thought the visuals were good. I thought they did a great job, as always, with how they made everything look. I didn't feel like the graphics were cheesy or needed, you know, maybe a little more time working on. I thought everything was good. I walked away completely, like, and especially with, you know, what came at the end. I'm like waiting for this next Transformer movie, and that's how we should leave a movie. You should always be leaving wanting more, and that's exactly what they did. So, you know, I'm sure there's things to nitpick on, but I didn't go there wanting to nitpick, and I'm glad that there wasn't too much for me to do that on.
Yeah, man, I gotta agree with you, man. I ended up really, really liking this movie. I think it's right now in like my top 10, definitely top 10 for this year. And the fact that I actually care to see the next one, because I left other Transformer movies like the Rise of the Knights or the Last Night, I think it was.
Yeah.
I left that movie going like, why do I keep doing this to myself? Like, it's just, you know, the only one I kind of like, of not even kind of, I love the first Transformers by Michael Bay, but the ones right after it, I just did not like. I mean, Dark of the Moon was okay, but everything else I really didn't care for, and I didn't like it at all. But
Mhm.
this one, honestly, if it's not the best Transformers like live action movie, it's got to be like the second or third. It's definitely top three for me,
Yeah.
and it got me excited. And what's even better, Al, for me, the fact that they did not use Megatron, Starscream, Soundwave, and all those other people, it actually got me excited to see those guys again. Like
Yeah.
I can say now, like, hey, I want to see if they can do Megatron now. If I want to see how they use Megatron, how would they do Starscream, or maybe bring in Soundwave or some of the other characters. It
Mhm.
actually got me looking forward to the next episode. And then forget it, like you said, the end credits, not the end credits, like right before the movie ends, it was like a big shock that happened, and I acted like if you ever seen that meme where Joe Rogan's like watching a UFC fight and he's like holding his friends back and losing his mind. That was me. I was losing my mind at that thing. But I mean, the movie itself, I thought it was great. It made me laugh. I did appreciate it, even though I know it was Pete Davidson. I still appreciated the humor.
Mhm.
I love the action. There was minimal human interaction. I mean, granted, it was, of course it's there, but at the same time, I loved the fight scenes with all the Transformers. I loved the ending. I mean, I didn't like the whole, like, I guess, CGI of it, but I did enjoy the battles because it wasn't shaky cam. It was like you could see everything that was happening. I love seeing RC. RC is one of my favorite characters from the Transformers animated movie, one of the best Transformers movie, probably the best Transformers movie,
Mhm.
besides the fact that they killed Optimus. Spoiler alert. Um, but yeah, man, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm like looking forward to the next one, and of course, I'm just super hyped off of this Transformer movie. I thought it was so great to see it, and I had a great time watching the movie in the theaters with the four of you, with the three of you guys. You know,
Mhm.
Sanj came, Brandon was there, you were there, and I thought we had a blast watching that movie. Man, it was
Yeah.
great. And shout out to whoever chose the music. Granted, it made me feel
Oh,
old as shit because it was like these are classics. These are the '80s or the '90s, and I'm like, I
yeah.
love every one of these hip hop songs.
Yeah,
Like,
kid. I'm almost looking for the soundtrack.
oh, absolutely.
Kid, yeah.
When you play Diggable Planets, are you kidding me? I'm cool like that.
Ah,
Oh man, but listen, the movie again. If you haven't seen the movie, and even if you hear all the stuff that we talk about that happens in this movie, I think you should still see this movie. I think it's not a need to see, but you definitely should see it, and you should see it in theaters. It's a huge, like, epic battle throughout. Every like 10 minutes is a fight. I loved it, man. And I have
mhm.
to also say, this transform was a little brutal. There was
Yeah.
some kills from the Autobots that I was like, you guys are the good guys. Like,
Yeah. They killed a couple cops. I don't want to hear nobody
oh,
say, "Oh, kid, they killed some cops in this movie."
they definitely killed
That
some
first
security
chase
guards
scene,
and cops in this movie, like real cops. Like,
yeah, don't tell me. Oh, come on, they
no,
survived.
but Al,
No,
did you realize the brutality in this one? Did
Y-
Optimus do the freaking Sub Zero and pull the freaking robot's neck and spine out? Like,
yeah, kid, yeah. I was like, what? Like,
and then I think the Optimus Primal, the gorilla in the gorilla Optimus or the Maximal,
yeah,
he like bashed in the head of one of these robots with a boulder, and I was like,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah, that's why I liked Optimus Primal. Like that,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't like mind seeing their origin story as a
yeah, man.
spin-off. Um, and that was the only thing that like I kept having to remind myself, and I think
Hmm.
they could have done a little better was stressing that they were from the future
Right.
and time traveled to the past.
That and
Um,
exactly that would have made. I mean, they hinted at it and they kind of like talked about it a little bit. These from your future, but they're in the past. But they didn't
mhm,
really harp on it and really explain it well. So it was
yeah,
very interesting to see that.
and
Any interest in seeing more of Unicron? Because the way they kind of showed Unicron wasn't the huge robot. It was still just the planet, the eating
mhm.
planet, and the way that they use Unicron, kind of just moving slowly towards Earth the entire time. How'd you feel about the use of Unicron?
No, I like the way they did Unicron because if
Mhm.
he's a robot of that size, you have to explain why he's just not destroying everything. So
Right.
it would have to be that, he needed something on the planet and that's why he needed Scourge to be like his laser on the target that he needed. And once whatever
Right.
his target was gone, then he could destroy the planet. But he's like the big, obviously big monster, and then if for surgical strikes, he has the Scourge and the rest of them. So I
Right.
like that balance and the use of the two to explain why he even needs a scourge to do his work.
Gotcha.
Um, but where they afterwards, when you're sitting back thinking of the movie, if they needed the MacGuffin was that key because that key was what allowed them to travel the universe and go
Right. The
from
two parts,
location.
right? The two pieces of that key to open up the portal.
Yeah, if that's what the Maximals used to go to Earth and go to the past in Earth,
Hmm.
how does Scourge and the rest of those guys go to them? Because
Right.
if they needed that key and that device in order to do that, how did
How did they end up
Unicron?
on Earth at the
Yeah, how
same
did they
time
get back?
frame?
How did they get sent back?
Yeah.
So did they already have the ability they were trying to get from the key? Like that's where I don't think they thought that through because they needed to key the key to do that.
Right.
So how were they able to do that?
Yeah.
Like I can understand you can detect that the key was used or you're picking up on the signal from the key, but the
Mhm.
signal from the key was coming from the past and from a great distance that supposedly you couldn't travel. How did they get there?
Well, they saw the light, Al. They saw the light, and that was it. Send them down.
But
Oh man.
other than that little loophole or that little, please explain it.
Yeah.
Enjoyed myself. The arcade. I was
Oh
there. I
yeah.
was loving every minute, loving the ending and the way they did everything. So I mean, I had a great
Mm.
time. So there's a lot of people that are bashing it, trying to, like I said, nitpick little things, but that was the only
Yeah.
thing
Nah.
that I
I don't think you
that
could bash it, man. I think it was. I think if as long as you don't go in there expecting art,
yeah,
you're gonna love it. And as
it's
long as you're a
transfer.
Transformers fan, sci-fi fan, you should be enjoying that movie. That movie was bananas, man. I mean,
Yeah,
listen, I turned my brain off with Transformers.
exactly. Yeah, and now if you want all these, like everybody has a universe. Now we have a Hasbro universe.
Yeah, Al, talk about it. Al, tell them how I lost my mind, Al. Tell them how
kid,
I lost my mind, man.
kid, when he flipped that card, and I was like, "What?" I, you know, I,
G.I.
I mean, you
Joe,
were doing
man.
the whole hand and holding us back, and I'm like, "That shit said GI Joe."
Because
I lost my mind, kid. I was like,
dude,
"No
I
way."
was convinced it was Sector 7 on the card to be like to kind of like hint that this is the same time path, just maybe a different direction.
Hmm.
But when they flipped that card over and that shit said it had the G.I. Joe emblem and said G.I. Joe, I lost my goddamn mind. I'm like, oh shit. Now, granted, G.I. Joe hasn't done so great in the movies lately.
Hmm.
Well, not lately, in the past years with, Channing Tatum as Duke and Roadblock from The Rock. It's not lived up to the potential. And then let's all try to forget Henry Golding Snake Eyes. Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
kid,
The
yeah.
best part of that thing was Scarlet. Uh, but I'm all for them trying again. Let's do it all over again. Let's give it some time. And you know what? Let's
Hmm.
do it a little different. Let's incorporate the Transformers. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Would I have preferred GI Joe come on their own and start their own little universe? Because I really don't see how Cobra, GI Joe, Autobots, and Decepticons. Like I'm interested to see it, but I really would have preferred because there's so many GI Joe characters. There's so many villains. You could have
Hmm.
gone so many directions with GI Joe. You could have did single movies, joint movies. You could have did Tiger Force. You could have did the Cobra Law. Like there was so many things you could do, but now you're kind of pigeonholing yourself to GI Joes with Transformers, and more likely the GI Joe are going to be side character humans in the Transformers movie.
Well, they could do a
Yeah,
a GI Joe spinoff
right,
to bring in who's the new Duke, who's the new Roadblock, and all this.
right.
Who's the new Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, and everything,
Hmm.
and then do the crossover event. Because remember, he said, he's recruiting him, and he's like, "We'd like the help of your friends,"
Right.
and so there was no guarantee. But I think that gives them the opportunity to do a brand new GI Joe reboot,
Right.
and then try to do the crossover. you know
Yeah.
so I wouldn't mind just seeing a new GI Joe if you can keep this tone, this atmosphere, this level of energy.
And good
Br-
story.
yep, good story.
Good
and
story.
good, bringing some good quality actors to do the portrayals.
Hmm.
I think they can make this work.
Yeah, man. You know what's funny is it's like I always think back, like Marvel just knew what they were doing. That you do Iron Man, you do Incredible Hulk, you do Thor, and then you work up to this moment where they're all together in one shot. I just always think that that's the right way to handle all this shit. And they just like, I'm like,
Mhm.
they just need to start over.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. But Al, like I
yeah,
said, to me, it's not a need to see because it's still not. It's not. Don't get me wrong. As much as I enjoyed it, I won't say it's the best movie I've seen this year. By no means. It's not a
yeah.
great
No,
movie, but it's a really good movie, and I enjoyed myself.
yeah,
But how about you, man? Need to see? Should see? Wait till Blu-ray?
yeah. I was gonna say you should see it. If you're not like a diehard fan, just wait for
Yeah.
it on Blu-ray, wait for it on streaming, and enjoy it. In the comfort of your home. But you should see it. Definitely, like you said, if you're a fan of Transformers, if you're a fan of Hasbro,
Right.
sci-fi, action, it's got something for everybody.
Hmm.
But it may not be something you have to see. Like even with all the special effects and everything, I didn't walk away feeling like I had to see it in the theater. Like
Gotcha.
even with Dolby and everything, I didn't like that. Didn't wow me. What wowed me was
Hmm.
what I was seeing on the screen,
Hmm.
and I could have been just as happy seeing it at home. So yeah, I
I got
should
you.
see it, but see it wherever you're comfortable.
Yeah, man, definitely, man. And knowing the way, like again, the way times are now, this movie will be in streaming. Yeah, in about like 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
So just you could wait for that, or you can go to the theaters. I think personally, you should go to the theaters and see it, man. It's a
Mhm.
huge, epic fight, battle scenes, and everything, man. Definitely check it out, man. But Transformers: Rise of the Beast, man, surprised me this year. That was a really good surprise.